Our God is still on his throne and ruling the affairs of man. Even as he does not change, his truths have not changed. Thankfully, God still has a people which proclaim that old-time religion, setting forth his sovereignty, and the old paths of truth where we can find rest for our souls. Welcome to Word of Sovereign Grace, a ministry of Paradise Primitive Baptist Church in Arlington, Texas. Get your Bible, call your friends, and sit back as we open the King James Scriptures to explore the glorious Word of Sovereign Grace. Here's this week's message.
Thank you, Brother John. If you have the scriptures, want to read along or look at them with us in the book of Matthew chapter 20. Matthew chapter 20. In the 15th verse, it is said, "Is it not lawful for me to do what I will with my own? Is thine eye evil because I am good? So the last shall be first, and the first shall be last, for many are called, but few are chosen." You who were with us on last Sunday will recall that I spoke from this particular verse of Scripture, "Is it not lawful for me to do what I will with my own?" I believe that by the time we finish this, we all agree that what a man has, it is his own, and he can do whatsoever he will with it. I believe that we all agree that in this life, that which that we possess, that which we work for, that we can give it to whomever we will, as much as we will, when we will, where we will. It is ours to do whatsoever we will with it. This parable taught such things, because we recall also that we saw where that this householder who went out and he hired laborers. He hired them in 3 different dominions, some at the 3rd hour, some at the 11th hour, but yet he gave them all the same thing as a day's pay, which was a penny. A penny in that day was considered a day's wages. Those who had worked long and hard all day, and in the heat of the day, they came and complained to him because he gave as much to those who had only worked 1 hour as he did those who had worked all day. And they complained. This is only human nature. Human nature always complains if it feels that there are some getting more than others. So consequently, these people began to complain. They thought they should receive several times more than one who had just worked an hour. Verily, truly, in our society today, in the workforce, it is so. If we work 1 hour, we expect one thing, but if we work 8 hours, we expect 7 times more than the one who worked 1 hour. Now, this is what the parable is all about. It is saying, can I not do that with my own when I will? If I want to give you as much for 1 hour of labor as I do someone else for 8 hours of labor, is your eye evil because my eye is good? If I choose to do this, it's mine. I can do whatsoever I will with it. If you recall that I used myself and my family not because I wanted to lift them up, but to keep it personal, that I reflect on no one else. And I use myself most of the time in saying that what I have is mine. I can do what I will with it. If I want to give one child something and don't give the other child anything, that it's mine. I can do whatsoever I will. You recall that I pointed out that in our human nature, we have brought it down to, if I do something for one of my children, I've got to do the same thing for the other child. If I give one something, I got to give the other one just as much, or yet I will be prejudiced, or I would be showing that I didn't love that person as much as I do this one. We pointed out there that that's wrong for this reason. Many times a father or a mother will give unto their children whenever they see the need. It is not that they love one above another, but maybe one needs some particular thing at this time, and the other one didn't need anything at that time. So is it not my own if I want to give, I believe I used a truck for an example. If I want to give one a truck and not give another a truck, that's my business. It's mine. It's my truck. I can give it to him or not give it to him. So again, it is because not that I love this particular one better than I love that one, but because the one I gave the truck to was in need at that time, or we'll say of some transportation to go to work or to go to school. Whereas the other one who doesn't go to school or cannot drive or whatever, then he doesn't need a truck at this time. Well, just because I gave one a truck and didn't give the other doesn't mean I love him more. You heard my sermon, and I don't want to get stuck on that tonight, but I'm using this, the same text. We want to go to a higher realm tonight. And I want you to follow me closely tonight. The Lord willing, I'm going to preach you what is called an old-timey doctrine. I'm going to teach you one tonight that is not often heard, if any heard at all today. Whether you tune in the radio, the television, or whether you read the newspaper or the religious papers that come to your home, you'll not find what I'm fixing to preach very often, if at all. Yet, it is one of the grand and glorious doctrines of this entire Bible. It is one that gives God the honor, the glory, the praise, as much or more than any other doctrine in this Bible. And yet, in our world today and in the preaching religious world today, you don't hear this doctrine preached. And I am sorry for that, because it is man has been brought to the forefront. Man now has been brought and set up as though God is not to even be recognized unless we recognize him as being a little pitiful God who can't do his will in the army of heaven or among the inhabitants of the earth unless we let him do that. Well, I think I pointed out in that message, and if I didn't, I want to tonight. I really despise hearing the term of let God have his way. Because, friends, the God of this Bible is going to have his way. The God of this Bible will have his way, whether we like it or not. And he has ways of having his way. And now that leads in to the doctrine and the subject that I want to use here. Again, I kept it personal, I think, on a humanly basis, my sermon last Sunday. Can I not do what I will? Can you not do what you will with your own? At any time, any way you see to dispose of it, you can do it. It's yours, so you can do it. Tonight, bring up on a higher plane. We come now to God. Can God not do what he will with his own? This leads then into the subject that I said that you don't hear preached much. It is called the providence of God. The providence of God is one of the greatest subjects in this Bible, and yet there's a very few people who know anything about the providence of God. The promises of God and the providences of God go hand in hand. They work completely together. There's not one of them that it is not working with the other. Neither one of them are ever working against each other. Providence. What is providence? The providence of God. Providence is that God is sovereign. He can do what he will, when he will, where he will, and how he wills. He is powerful enough to bring about his will. and to fulfill his promises that he has promised unto his people. Many times he uses this providential power of his to bring about the promises that he has promised unto his people. He did it in the Bible. He's still doing it today. God is a God that does not change. He never changes. He's a God who never breaks a promise. If he has ever promised anything, he will bring it to pass. He'll not go back on his promises. It matters not how wicked man may get. It matters not how much we may sin. It matters not how many idols we may have before him. If he has promised something, he is going to fulfill that promise. Now, remembering, we can backslide, we can have idols, we can go against him, we can go against his will, and we will receive chastisement for having idols or other gods or backsliding and going against him. He will chastise us, but he will not go back on one of his promises. You know, sometimes we as men, sometimes, let's use mom and dad, that's a good example. Sometimes mom will promise their child something. We will say, Saturday you'll get to go play soccer and eat ice cream. But let's say on Thursday and Friday he messes up bad, makes mom real mad. So she withdraws her promise. When Saturday comes, he said, Mom, I'm ready to go. She said, we're not going to go. Why not? That's your punishment. You are, I think they call it grounded today. You are grounded. You can't have. So she goes back on her promise. Well, you'll never find in this Bible where God ever went back on one of his promises. He never withdrew one of his promises. Now then, bringing, can I not do what I will with my own, to a higher plane, which is to God. Can God not do what he will with his own? Now I want you to notice me carefully tonight. God made this earth, did he not? He spoke this earth into existence, did he not? All right, if he made this earth and populated it just like he wanted it, put every tree where he wanted it, put every mountain where he wanted it, every valley where he wanted it, every stream where he wanted it. He made everything just exactly like he wanted it. Would you concede that? Then if that be true, can he not do with this earth what he wants? He can do what he will. It's his, and he can do whatsoever he will. Again, if he wants to put one mountain in one place, and if he wants to withhold the water from another place, that's exactly what he did. Is it called the Sahara Desert, where that there is no water but there's plenty of heat? God did that, my friends, made it just that way. That pleased his mind to make it just like he wanted. Now, can he not do with this earth what he wants? It's his. Can he not do what he will with it? You must say, yes, he can. Well, then if we agree to that, let's reach on now. Did he not take from the dust of that earth and make the man? Here the man lays before him, got a full body, but something is missing. The man can't move. Why can't he move? He has no life. Here's a full-grown, we'll say, man, clay man lying in the front of God. He's got 2 ears, he's got 2 arms, 2 legs, he's got a nose, a mouth, everything, 2 eyes, just like you got. He's lying there, but he can't move. I say again, because he has no life. Now then, God can either speak life to that man and say, become a living soul, or he can take and crumble that dust back up and throw it back into dust if he so desires. Can he not? He made the man, he can do what he will with him. Can he not? Can he not do with that which is his own? He can. For the Bible says the potter has power over the clay to make one vessel unto honor and another unto dishonor. So God said that he is the potter and we're the clay. And Adam lay before him. He could do whatsoever he would with that man. He could either give him life or kick him back to the dust, whichever he wanted. He chose to give him life. Now then, man is a living soul. Question: can God not do what he will with Adam? When he made the woman from the rib of the man and brought her to Adam, can he not do now what he will with man and woman? Can he not decide to look over and see that everything has a mate on this earth except man? And say that it's not good for man to live alone, so I'll make him a helpmeet. Is it not that God, after making the helpmeet and bringing them together, is it not his to do what he will with them? Certainly it is. So what did he will for them to do? He said unto them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. He performed a marriage ceremony. He can do what he will with his own. I think tonight, friends, do we not all agree up to now that God can do whatsoever he willed with his earth and with his man? Well, then let's go a step higher. Can he not save or not save? Can he not do what he will with his own? If he chooses to save everybody in this universe, can he not do it? Certainly he can. For if he can save one, he can save all. He can do whatsoever he will. Now then we come to the doctrine of election. And election is taught throughout this Bible. God chose, Ephesians 1 and 4, that God chose his people in Christ before the foundation of the world. All right, God, as I said, everybody upon this earth is his. He can do what he will with them. He can choose some and leave some out, or he can choose them all or choose none. He's God. He can do what he will. Well, Paul informed us that it pleased God to choose the people, a multitude, a number that no man can number, out of every nation, every kindred, every tribe, and every nation upon the face of this earth has God's people in it. Never been a people living on this earth that God didn't have a people among them. God can do what he will with them. He can choose them or not choose them. The Bible said that he chose, as I said, a number, a multitude. Not just a few, not just a little bitty bunch. He chose a number that no man can number. As a matter of fact, he put it, that if you can number the stars of heaven or the sands by the seashore, you will know my people. And the foundation of God standeth sure, the Lord knoweth them that are his. So we can again, I think, agree up to this point, that God can do whatsoever he will with his own. He made them, and he can do what he will. Now let's go up another step. We can see now that God has chosen his people, Ephesians 1 and 4. Ephesians 2 and 1, it says that those people that had fallen in Adam, and we are all Adam multiplied. So therefore we all fell in Adam. We are born into this world in sin, a sinful nature. And then we commit sin after we begin to grow up. We commit sin to the longest day we live. So we are sinners by nature and we are sinners by practice. Now then, can God not do what he will with that people who are sinners? Certainly he can, because he has the power to do so. The Ephesians 2 and 1 says, what did he do? You hath he quickened who were dead in trespasses and in sin. Everyone that he chose in the covenant of grace before the foundation of the world, he wrote the name in the Lamb's book of life, gave unto his Son for a bride. The Son, knowing that the bride was condemned in sin, black as the tents of Kedar and Haman, knowing that sin cannot enter heaven, the Son agreed to come into this world and to lay down his life voluntarily for the sins of every one of the elect that God chose and wrote their name in the book of life. And the promise, now watch the promise and the providence here. And the promise was that not one of them would be left out. In John 6, 37, 38, and 39. Read it when you go home. All that the Father giveth me shall come to me. How are they going to come? Not through the church, not gospel regeneration, but they're going to come by effectual call of the Holy Spirit of God. All that the Father giveth me shall come to me in regeneration. And they that cometh to me, I will in no wise cast out. For I came down from heaven, not to do my will, but the will of him that sent me, and this is the Father's will, that of all he has given me, I should lose nothing, but raise it up again at the last day. Now people are going about, little preachers today, going about over this country talking about how many that are dying and going to hell every day. My friends, there's not a one Christ ever died for who will ever go to hell. I want you to get that. And the reason I'm so firm on that is because this Bible said that very same thing. All that the Father giveth me will come to me, and he that come, I'll no wise cast out. Why did you come, Jesus? I came to do the Father's will. What was the Father's will? To save my people from their sin. Matthew chapter 1, verse 23. The Bible said, she shall conceive and bring forth a son, and thou shalt call his name Jesus, for he shall save his people from their sin. Not give him a chance, not give him an opportunity, not a hope so, not a maybe so. He shall save his people from their sin. And I'm glad to be identified tonight with the people who believe that he did exactly what he came in this world to do, and that was to save. Now then, those that Jesus saved, they're his. When he poured out his precious blood is whenever they were saved upon him. He poured it out upon the cross, and that's when they were saved. Now that they are saved, my friends, can he not do what he will with his own? The answer still is yes. For now, he can promise them some things. Now, by his providence, he's going to carry out those promises that he has promised. I'm going to give you two now examples of God's providence. There are many in this book. My sermon would be too long to give many. But I'll give you two, and these two will set you to thinking that when you go home and read and study, that you will be able to go on through and see the providence of God. Remembering again, if God has ever promised something, he's going to deliver. He'll never go back on his promise for no reason. And he'll bring about that promise many times by his providential leading. This is why that this subject of providence needs to be held up before us. It needs to be preached today. Young people need to hear it, and old folks who hadn't heard it should hear it and understand it and rejoice in it. Because again, our God is a God who changes not. Now here's the promise. He promised, I want to go back just a little further. Here's his promise. The Bible said, the Lord looked down on this earth, and he saw that there wasn't a thing that was worshiping him. There wasn't a human on this earth that was worshiping him. He said, they all turned out of the way. They've all gone their own way. They have forsaken me, the true living one. But he said, I'm going to have a people who will glorify me, who will honor me, who will love me. So in order to do that, I'm going to have to choose the people on this earth, make them mine, and I'll be their God, and they'll be my people. So he passed by everywhere and everybody till he got to the land of Chaldees. And when he got to this land, he passed by everybody in the land till he got to one city. When he got to that city, he passed by everybody in that city and every family till he got to one family. And then when he got to that family, he passed by everyone in that family but one man. And he appeared unto this one man. His name is Abram. He's 75 years old at this time. And the Lord said unto him, Abram, he said, leave thy nativity. Come and follow me, and I will make of thy seed a great nation. I will be unto them a God. They shall be unto me a people. I will fight their battles for them. I will feed them. I will take care of them. And I will give them a land of promise. It'll be a land full of milk and honey. There'll be houses already built when they get there to live in. There'll be wells to drink from that they did not dig. There will be orchards planted that they can go out and eat of orchards that they did not even plant. So God says, now then your name will no longer be Abram, but now it'll be changed to Abraham, which means father of a great nation. Now then, you wonder where the Jew came from? You wonder why there's Jews on this earth? Who are the Jews? Right here is the beginning of the Jewish nation. Abraham was the father. He was the first Jew on this earth. And everything that has ascended from him, through Isaac, is a Jew. Of course, you know he took the bondwoman and had children after her, and they're the Arabs that's over there now. But the Jews are those who descended from Isaac. For the Bible said, in Isaac should thy seed be called. Now what do I have before you? The promise of God. He's promised a lot to Abraham. He promised, as I said, a great nation. A nation that is seed, that this seed is going to produce a people that will be so numerous as the stars in heaven and the sands by the seaside. God promised that to Abraham. Promised that he'd take care of them. That he would be their God. That they'd be his people. That there'd be a promised land over yonder that they could go and live in. And as I said, eat and drink from that which they did not dig, or houses they did not plant. So we can see then that the Lord promised this, he's going to bring it about. But remember that this people, this Jewish people, that is his people that he has placed his truth in now and is seeing after and fighting their battles for them and giving them this good land, we can see that they were not obedient. He said unto this people, he said, I will be your God, you'll be my people. And in obedience, I'll let you eat the fat of the land. In disobedience, he said, I'll chastise you. He said that eat the good that I thought to bring upon you, I'll turn and do you evil because of your transgressions and your sin. The children of Israel at first said, all that the Lord said, we'll do it. But as we can see, whenever they got fat and they got lazy, they got fat, they got lazy. And when they got fat and lazy, then they quit serving God. They turned away from him. They began to worship the idols they lived in, the country of the idols they lived in. They went against him. God said, now don't marry outside the family. Don't mix up this blood. Keep this Jewish blood pure. He said, marry within your family. Don't marry out of the family. Don't marry them folks. Don't give your sons to those whose lands you're entered into. And don't give your daughter or take their daughters unto your sons. He said, stay within the family. Keep it a pure bloodline. These people did not do that. They went against God. They got fat, as I said, then they got lazy. They quit serving God. Began to serve the gods whose lands that they now were in. They did give their sons to marry their daughters and took their daughters to their son. This angered God, displeased God. What is he to do now? Is he to withdraw his promise like I said Mom did, the soccer player a few days ago? No, God had made a promise. And he's not going to go back on that promise. But what he is going to do is chastise. As a good father would chastise his son for disobedience. So consequently, what does he do? He allows Nebuchadnezzar to come in, who's from Babylon, to come in and to overrun and to take the people and to carry them back into captivity. Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, Daniel, these healthy, good-looking young men took them and made eunuchs out of them and carried them. Took the beautiful daughters and carried them down and gave them to the Babylonian sons. Carried them into captivity. But remember, God said they'll be down there for 40 years. God said ahead of time how long they'll be there and then when they'll be delivered. Another promise of God. Now remember, He's already promised some things. And now He's making another promise. That though they'll be there, they're still my people and I'm still their God. So therefore, He said, I will deliver them in 40 years. They have 40 years, but the promise is you'll be delivered. Kind friends, let's digress for a moment and say this to you. That when God makes a promise, it may be not today that it will be delivered. But if God has ever made a promise unto you, you can rest assured that you will receive it. Cannot God do what He will with His own, when He will, at what time He will? And the answer still is yes. Now, watch this. Providence and promise go together. Where did we leave them? Down in bondage, in captivity. We find down here where that this people has been 40 years down in captivity. How are they going to be delivered? Let's run over to the book of Esther now. We're going to see one of the greatest providential lessons in all of the Bible in the book of Esther. And yet, God's name is never mentioned in the book of Esther. But yet, the God of Esther is the God that we're preaching about tonight. And yet, Esther's book never mentions His name. But now, watch the promise and the providence. The promise is you will be delivered in 40 years. Now then, it's time for them to be delivered. How are they going to be delivered? Is the king just going to say in 40 years, well, I see where God said you ought to be delivered, so get out of here? No. But by His providence, He's going to deliver them. Now watch this. Remember, the promise is you'll be delivered. Now the providence is this. The Bible said that there was a king over this province, and he had a wife, and the king, anytime the king bidded his wife to come to him, she automatically had to come. On this occasion, they refused to come to him. And I really think it was because he was drunken. They'd been having a feast. He'd been laying around drunk for a good long while. No doubt this woman probably thought he just wanted to make sport of her in front of her, of his friends, maybe show her. I don't know what, but she refused to come. Well, this is a no-no. Whenever the king says come, you come. When the king says act, you act. Well, she didn't come. Made him mad. Through advice of some of his own councilmen in his own palace, they said, get rid of her. Do away with her. So he did away with her. She's no longer his wife. But now then, here's a little woman named Esther. Esther is a little Jewish woman. Esther has an uncle named Mordecai. Mordecai had raised Esther from a baby. Now then, Esther being a Jew, Mordecai being a Jew, there was another man by the name of Haman who is not a Jew. He is one of the king's folks. And Haman hates the Jews. He hates Mordecai. He wants to put Mordecai to death. And then his hatred was so great for Mordecai that he wanted to just kill every Jew. He was like Hitler. He wanted to completely extinguish them off the face of the earth. And he set out to do so. Now watch, this is all providence of God. You say, how could that be providence? Because here is a little Jewish woman by the name of Esther who winds up out of all the beautiful women in that man's kingdom, yet here is one Jewish woman who was more beautiful and won the heart of the king and wound up to be his wife. A Jew marrying a heathen king. Unheard of. Providence of God, friend. Because why? He's going to bring about his promise. What's his promise? You'll be delivered in 40 years. How are they going to be delivered? Watch this. You've got the promise, now watch the providence. The Bible said there was a man named Haman. Haman hated the Jews, as I said. There's this Mordecai, who is an uncle unto the king's wife, Esther now. The wife of the king could not come to him when she wanted to. She could not just walk in and see him when she wanted to. She had to wait until she was sent for before she ever approached the king. He had to reach out his sepulchre to anyone who came to him. You couldn't just walk in and see the king. You couldn't just walk in and request to see the king. The king had to first welcome you. Even the wife could not see the king until he called for her. We see the reason that Haman hated Mordecai so is because Mordecai was a man full of pride, puffed up within himself. He could walk down, Haman, I'm saying that, could walk down the street, people praise him. He could come in and out of the king's gate, and they'd get up and they'd bow down to him. And he loved it. But there was one man who wouldn't bow down to him. This one man was none other than Mordecai. And I think the reason that Mordecai wouldn't bow down to him is because Mordecai was a good Jew, and God had said, honor no man upon this earth. I'm your God. Pay no honor to no man on this earth. Don't bow to any man. Don't have any graven images of things made in heaven or earth. He said, don't do anything. This was a good Jew. He said, I'll not bow down to any man. God is the one who I honor. He's the only one that I'll bow to. And in his heart, this is what he stuck to. When this Haman came in and out every day, and all these people were doing their bowing unto him, here sat old Mordecai. He wouldn't bow. This made Haman mad. And every day it made him a little better. So one day he goes in and he sees the king. And he wants to kill Mordecai, and he wants to kill every Jew there. He goes in to see the king. And he's hunting away in a place that he might ask that he just kill every Jew in the land. Well, he got so angry that he went out and built a big scaffold right in the middle of town, high scaffold, that he might hang Mordecai over. And now he's got to get permission from the king to do so. So he goes in, and in the meantime, the king can't sleep tonight. He's restless. So he calls for the scribe to bring the book of Chronicles and read it. Now the book of Chronicles was that which happened in the past in the kingdom. It's all written down. So he can't sleep. The scribe is reading to him, and he comes across, and there was this man by the name of Mordecai who was sitting at the gate of the king, and he heard two men who was plotting to kill the king. Mordecai reports this to Esther, who told the king, who sent his men out and rounded up these two and hanged them. What was done for Mordecai? Nothing. What did the king send him? Nothing. What present did he receive? Not a thing. What recognition? What thanks? Not any of that. No one said anything about him saving the king's life. Now, when this is read to him, that Mordecai saved his life, the king said, wait a minute, wait a minute. What has been done for this man? What has been done for this man that saved my life? They said nothing. He said nothing been done. He said, well, there will be something done. And about this time, Haman comes in. He's received. Haman is hunting away, as I said, to kill Mordecai. So as he comes in, the king said, come on in. He said, I got something I want to ask you. He said, if somebody had saved your life, what would you do for somebody like that? And the Bible said that Haman thought that he was talking about him. And he said, why, if I was going to reward somebody for doing something good, he said, I'd take one of the king's old outfits, uniforms, and I'd put it on that man. And then I'd put that man on a white horse. And then I would have some man to lead him up and down the streets so the people could honor that man who had done such a good deed. The king said, fine. He said, you go and take my uniform, my kingly robe, and put on Mordecai, and put him on my white horse, and you lead him up and down that street, and let the people. You can imagine how that this man must have felt at this day. Now, instead of killing him, he's got to honor him by leading him up and down the street on a white horse and let all the people praise him. This just really got to Haman at this point. But he did it. Providence of God, friends. Where were we? God had made a promise that these folks would be delivered. How are they going to be delivered? They're going to be delivered by God's providence, that this queen, that this Jewish girl Esther is going to become the king's wife, and she in turn is going to ask for the life of her people. Now remember that through conniving and through deceit, Haman has now won that he might be able to do what he wanted to do, and that was to destroy the Jew. He got the king to say that he could destroy the Jews. He could hang Mordecai. Well, we can see that that was the way that it looked like that they were going to go. And remember this for me, once a king sent out a decree or an order, it couldn't be reversed. It could not be brought back. Even the king himself could not reverse his own decision. Once it went out, that's the way it stood. Haman got this request from the king. And now he's on his way to hang Mordecai. Now he's on his way to kill every Jew. But here comes little Esther, providence, friend. Here comes little Esther. Had she not have been the king's wife, who could have went and talked to him and told him how wicked Haman was. And I'll not give the rest of the story, but read it. When you go home, one of the sweetest things you'll ever read, how that she made a banquet and invited no one but the king and this Haman over. What Haman did that caused the king to sentence him to be hung on his own scaffold. Did you get that? He built a scaffold for Haman and got hung on his own scaffold. Friends, the old adage, and I think they call it Japanese adage, that if you build one scaffold to hang someone on yourself, you might as well build two. Whenever you start to hang somebody else, just go ahead and build two, because you'll probably get hung on one of them yourself. That's a pretty good adage, I think, but providential. All right, the king can't reverse his offer. He's already said to Haman, you can extinguish the Jew. But now, here's what he can do. After Esther got to be the queen's wife, the king's wife, she got Mordecai, her uncle, a good job up there at the town's gate. Now he's sitting up there doing business. And we can see now that since the order cannot be reversed to extinguish the Jew, another one can be sent out. And so Mordecai got him to send out another decree saying to every Jew in the land that whenever they come to take you, when they come to kill you, fight against them. Form yourselves together. Become an army and fight against them that they might not destroy you. And that's exactly what happened. Do you see the promise? The promise was you'll be delivered. The providence of God, how they will be delivered. Because I promise you tonight, friend, this wasn't just to happen. This wasn't just a chance. If it hadn't been for God's Holy Spirit, if it had not been for God's providence, every Jew in that land would have been killed. Just like if it hadn't been for the providence of God, the head of the United States, Hitler would have killed the last one of those over there. But providence, God can use His providence to bring about His promise. Now, real hurry, let's go to Joseph. You remember that the Lord said there's going to be a famine in the land. It's going to be a great famine. There's just not going to be any rain. There's not going to be any crop made. This is going to go on for 7 years. You know how dry it can get in 7 years. You know how much that we wouldn't even have food to eat if it happened to be a drought in this land for 7 years. Well, that's the way it was. And God said ahead of time. But now, His promise was unto His people. Watch His promise. He had said unto them, because of your wickedness, you're going to be in Egypt, under Egypt's bondage. You're going to be in bondage for 430 years. 430 years, and then you will be delivered out. Now that's God's promise. You see again, God had said unto the forefather Abraham, made a promise to him, that the people are going to do wickedly, and I'm going to have to punish them, and I'm going to see that they go into this land of Egypt and be under bondage for 430 years. But after 430 years, I will deliver them. That's the promise. Now, how's He going to do that? Watch His providence. Jacob had 12 sons. And there was one by the name of Joseph. Now, in order for Joseph to be in Egypt, at the proper place, at the proper time, in the proper power, there's a lot of things got to happen. Here's a 17-year-old boy who is back down here with his father and his 11 brothers. They are not in the land of Egypt, nor are they in the land of Goshen, but they are now in a dry, pitiful land where they need something to eat. Father had heard that there's corn in Egypt. So therefore, he's going to send down to Egypt to see if he can buy corn and bring back home to feed his family. But in the meantime, the drought hadn't come yet. There's still plenty down in Egypt. But now, the drought is coming. How is Joseph going to be where he ought to be at the proper time to deliver Israel? Providence. To bring about the promise, you'll be delivered. You'll be taken care of. I'll be your God. I'll not forsake you, nor I'll leave you. How's it going to come about? Watch this. The 11 brothers are down in the field watching the sheep. The father sends his baby son, Joseph. He's 17 years old at the time. He said, go see about your brothers. Take some victuals or take some food with you. And go see about them and return unto me and tell me their welfare. Joseph goes down. As they see Joseph coming, they're very jealous of Joseph, because his father had made him a coat of beautiful colors, because he had dreamed a dream and said to his brothers, one day you'll have to fall down at my feet. They were very jealous, couldn't stand Joseph. They saw him coming. They said, oh, here comes that dreamer. Said, let's kill him. And so they sought to kill him. Let's take that beautiful coat, kill an animal, dip it in blood, send it back to the father. The father will think he's dead. I've got ahead of myself. Let's kill him. But one of the brothers in the room said, no. Said, let's don't kill him. Let's just put him in this pit over here. They took Joseph, put him in a pit. They set up here and plotted now his death. And this brother talked them out of killing him because here comes a caravan across. It's going down to Egypt. And this brother said, no. He said, let's take him out of the pit and set him in that caravan, and they'll carry him down to Egypt, and we'll still be rid of him. We'll never see him again, and that'll be better than killing him. So they agreed. Now, we'll take that beautiful coat of many colors that his father's made. And again, right here, let me point out to you, is what I have not my own, I can do what I will with it. My friends, Jacob did not make a coat of many colors, nor favor any other son, just like he did Joseph. Well, is it not his to give? Is it not his to do what he will with his own? Does he have to do something for the other 11, just like he did Joseph, in order to be just? No, again, I say unto you, he can do whatever he will with his own. And that's exactly what Jacob did, my friend. He made this son a beautiful coat. He favored him highly, and he sent him to see his brothers. Now his brothers are jealous. Now they throw him in a pit. Now they take him out. Now they sell him for 20 pieces of silver to Egypt. Now that's important. You know why it's important? It's because Jesus Christ was sold for 30 pieces of silver. You know why Joseph just brought 20 pieces of silver? It's because a male Jew was not considered a man until he was 30 years old. So therefore, he did not bring but 20 pieces of silver until he became a man. And then after he became a man, he brings 30 pieces of silver. Joseph was sold for 20, Jesus was sold for 30. Now then, here he goes. When he gets down to Egypt, there's a man by the name of Potiphar who bought him. And when he bought him, he took him and put him in his servant's house to watch over his other servants. And he went on a journey. His wife saw this young, good-looking 17 or 18-year-old boy, healthy and no doubt good-looking. She desired him. She tried to get him to come to her. And Joseph said, how can I do this thing and sin against God? And he ran out of her house. She had a hold of his coat, and she took this coat, laid it up on her bed, waited for her husband to come, and then told this big fantastic lie about how that the one that you have hired and brought into my house has now come into my bedroom and tried to, and so consequently, Potiphar believed her. None of this is so. Remember, Joseph resisted the temptation of this woman, but she told it the other way that he did. The king, the Potiphar's her husband believed her, so he had Joseph thrown in prison. Is this all providence or not? Friends, it's got to be. It's not by chance, it's by providence. Why? Why would the Lord own one that he said is like the apple of my eye? Why would this one be subjected to such ill treatment? First of all, by his brother. Second of all, by Potiphar's his wife's lie that got him thrown in jail, and he stayed down there in jail for 2 years. Why? Again, God's providence. Because he's still not where God wants him yet. But God's going to carry out his promise, and he's going to do it through this providence, so watch it carefully. Whenever Joseph, he had to go to prison. You know why he had to go? It's because there were 2 folks down there that he had to see. These 2 people, one was a baker, and the other was a butcher. Excuse me. One of them was a butler, and one of them was a baker. Now, they had both been thrown in jail because the king became angry of them some times ago. I think they'd been in prison 2 years already. When Joseph gets in, the Lord appeared unto these 2 men and gave unto them a dream. And they couldn't interpret the dream. They couldn't understand what this dream meant. And so they came to Joseph, and Joseph interpreted the dream for them. Joseph said it simply this. Said, you the butler, you're going to be restored to your position up at the king's house. But you the baker, you're going to be hung by the neck. And the buzzards is going to eat your eyes out. That's your dream. It was exactly so. That's exactly what happened. The butler was restored to his place. And whenever he left that prison, I never will forget what Joseph said to him the last day. He said, whenever thou come in the presence of the king, remember me. Tell the king about me. But as many of us do, when he got back to his position, he forgot David. It's Joseph. He forgot Joseph. He didn't remember him to the king. He completely forgot about this little man. I believe it's 2 more years before it ever comes up again. But now then God appeared unto the king and gave him a dream that he couldn't interpret himself. No one could interpret. Even the wise men who always interpret his dream couldn't interpret this dream. They knew nothing at all about it. And now the butler said, oh yeah, by the way, I know there's a little fellow down in prison. He can interpret dreams. The king said, bring him up here. The king told him his dream, and David said, this is your dream. There's going to be 7 years of plenty. There's going to be 7 years of famine. He said, during the 7 years of plenty, you better put her up. Because the 7 years of famine, there's not going to be anything that will grow. And consequently, that's coming upon us right away. The king was so elated over the fact that Joseph was able to interpret that dream and tell him what was going to happen, that he said, I'm going to make you in charge of the storehouse. He said, now then, you're in charge of the storehouse. And he said, during the 7 years that there's plenty, he said, be sure and put it in the barn and be over it. He said, the 7 years, whenever it becomes 7 years of nothing growing, the people's going to come in, they're going to, and whatever you give them, whatever you sell them, that'll be, you're in charge. The Bible said he was next to the king in power. Friends, do you see providence? Do you not see God's promise coming to pass by his providence? In both of these cases, Esther saved the Jews. Joseph saved these people. And in 430 years, just like God said, he raised up a man by the name of Moses and said, Moses, go down into Egypt and say unto my people, say unto Pharaoh, let my people go. And you know, as Paul Harvey says, the rest of the story. Friends, I hope I looked at my watch and I'm always amazed. When I'm driving down that interstate highway by myself, an hour's a long time. And yet when I'm in this pulpit, trying to tell it's a short, my time is gone, what I'm saying. You've been such a good audience. I'll not make my sermon longer. I'd love to. But I just want to wind up with this and then I'm through. I've given you these 2 experiences or happenings to let you know that God never goes back on a promise and he uses his providence to bring about his promise. Now, has the Lord ever made a promise to you? Is there anything in this book that's a promise to you? Well, you can rest assured God is going to bring it to pass. He's going to use his providence to bring it to pass. And sometimes these things that happen unto us, that we think and wonder, why did they happen, how did they happen, and why did they happen, is God's providence of bringing about what he has promised unto you. Are you burdened tonight? Are you afflicted tonight? Are you sick tonight? Do you need something tonight? The promise unto God to you is this: call upon me while I am near. Seek me while I may be found. Call upon God, my friends, down on your knees, humbly before God, saying unto him what your problem is. Now remember, prayer is not a monologue. Prayer is a dialogue. And a lot of people seem to think whenever they're praying that prayer is just a monologue. That is, that we're to do all of the talking, and then when we get through, get up and go on. Well, friends, that's not so. Prayer is a dialogue. We need to talk to God, but then we need to then sit there and then let Him talk to us. For you see, it's far more important what the Lord has to say to us than what we have to say to Him. For He already knows what you're going to say before you say it. But you don't know what He's going to say back to you. So this is why it's important. When you pray, then stop and meditate and listen and let Him talk to you. And then seek His blessings through His promises. And remember good, if you forget everything else, don't ever ask anything that God has not bidded or willed us to ask for. In other words, don't ask to be foolish.
Word of Sovereign Grace, a ministry of Paradise Primitive Baptist Church in Arlington, Texas. Paradise Primitive Baptist Church is located at 5300 Mansfield Road in Arlington, Texas. Services begin at 10:30 each Sunday morning. Plan to come and worship with us. To find out more about Paradise Primitive Baptist Church, visit www.paradisepbc.org. Be sure to visit our website for articles, video, and audio sermons, as well as biblical answers to your questions. Thanks for watching, and be sure to join us again next week. May God richly bless you.